Hello and welcome to episode 175 of Fergo and the Freak. I'm that bloke from Rugby League Project, Andrew Ferguson. You can find me on Twitter at AndrewRP. Joining me as always is the gregarious League Freak, who you can find on Twitter at League Freak. How you going there, mate?
I'm going good. Gregarious is a good one. I like that one.
You like that one?
Yeah, that's acceptable.
There you go. I think it comes from the Latin of the same word, so there you go.
Yeah, I wonder what its origins in Latin are, though.
I don't know.
Gregarious, anyway, we'll work it out.
Well, someone else can figure that out.
Yeah.
We've spoken enough Latin already for today.
True.
All right, well, we've had, 3 games to dinner back on?
Yes.
Freak's back up.
Yep.
Everyone's been telling me, well, where are you now? Because, bashing on Peter V'landys now that he's got the game back up and running.
Yeah,
and my answer is,
yeah,
I'm still here. I never once bashed him for getting the game going early.
No one else in the whole world could have done it, That's what I've been told.
Yeah, exactly. Someone else asked me, where's Greenberg now? I went, I don't know. No one from News Corp has been out there taking photos of him inside his own house, so it's hard for me to tell what he's been doing anymore.
Sucked in Greenberg with your $600,000 for going early.
Yeah, and your reasonably good management of the game over all these years.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, how have you been?
I've been good. I've watched the 3 games so far. I didn't watch most of the second half of the Roosters versus Rabbitohs game. I got to say that, but it's been interesting to see the reaction to the games. It's been interesting to see how they've been covered and some of the things that have been said by pundits, by commentators, and by opinion piece writers.
Yes, a lot of people have been very quick to talk about how great the game is now, how fast and how open it is, and it's all because of everything V'landys did. And I've been asked if I've changed my tune, and my response has been pretty open. That is, I'd like to see how things are going as of the end of next week, not because I'm looking for an excuse to go, see, I told you so. It's more because I think this week all the teams are going to be sort of playing with a more of a round 2 mindset, where the rules hadn't changed. And I think after a week of reviewing things and seeing how they can, better exploit the rule changes and stuff like that, and they've all got that 1 week of footy out of the system, I think we'll get a better idea as to how it's all going at the end of next week. And if after next week the game's looking fantastic and fast and open and all like that, and the wrestle seems to have been gone, then you know what? I have no fear whatsoever coming out and saying that I got something wrong. I've done it before. I've got a decent set of balls on me. I don't care if I'm wrong. So, whoop-de-doo, if you get something wrong, who gives a fuck? So that'll be me. So I haven't seen a full game yet. I've seen bits and pieces of games, and that's only because my work's been getting in the way. What I have seen, the games have been flowing reasonably quickly.
Yep.
I will say, though, I think the games we've seen so far have been a bit of a mismatch. And in the sense of there's been one team in each game so far where you just knew pre-match that this team, who were going to win, were always going to be the winner. They were like pretty easy picks. Like, Parramatta have been brilliant the start of the year, and they absolutely dicked Brisbane last year, and when they played in the finals when the pressure was on. Yeah. So, to me, it wasn't much of a surprise that they came out and continued that trend. The Titans, does anyone actually think the Titans are going to give anyone a challenge this year? Yeah.
I tell you what, as you say, none of the winners are surprising winners, right? No. None of the games have been close. The thing that I've noticed is that this 6 again thing is absolutely murderous to the teams that it's called against. You basically have no shot. And there's a reason why rugby league started off at at 4 tackles when they limited the tackle count, and then went to 6 and then stopped, because anything more than 6 tackles, and we've even seen what a 7th tackle does. The 7th tackle is ridiculous. It's too big of an advantage, and you and me have talked about that. And I don't think either of us like that 7 tackle rule that they brought in when the
makes no
kick
sense.
Yeah, it's silly, and it's too much of an advantage. 7 tackles. So
especially when you get to have the reset 20 meters infield anyway.
Yeah,
it's basically 2 extra tackles.
Yeah, exactly. But what we're seeing here is teams getting multiple sets of 6 back to back to back with no breaks, and you're not stopping that. You're just not. And I don't care how good your defense is. You got to rely on a mistake, or I mean, the Titans did very well today, believe it or not, defensively early on in that game, with the way that the ruck is being policed, and the way that a referee can just go 6 again whenever they see an infringement. You can defend well and still get thrashed and not really be able to get back into the contest because you've been made to do too much work. And it's from, what would have normally been a penalty, but at least then if there's a penalty, the game would be stopped and the penalty is taken and we restart the game again, which, when you think back, is how the coaches wanted it to happen. They were saying we can't have quick taps and things like that. We need the defence to be able to reset so it's an even contest. And what we have right now is not an even contest, in my opinion.
No, I do agree with that. And it was something that I don't even think they've started to exploit this rule yet. And it's already being advantageous to the stronger teams.
Yeah, well, look, even in the Eels versus Broncos game, the Broncos held in for a little bit. And I'm not saying the Broncos played great, but they held in for a bit, and then they were just overwhelmed. The Eels played really good to a man, but, there was... Part of it was because of the just weight of possession. And I'm sure if you looked at the tackle counts in all of these games, the team that lost has had to make way, way, way more tackles. And it'd be interesting to see how that pans out over the course of, say, 2 rounds, and how that pans out when you add in, the other thing is, like, the referee calls 6 again, that's not a penalty. That's not part of the penalty count. And it really should be, because it's a penalty. It's just a penalty on the run.
Yeah. Well, why don't we just have a quick look at some stats here then, shall we?
Yeah.
Broncos Parramatta. Parramatta had 64% possession. They had 17 more sets. Made 1,000 more meters. And where's the tackles here? They made Brisbane made 401 tackles to Parramatta's 249.
And when you look at those stats and you look at the scoreline, Brisbane did pretty damn well. Yeah. Like, I know they got smashed, but they, them stats are like 50-point thrashing.
So let's have a look here then. Cowboys Titans, similar scoreline, almost identical actually. Cowboys 66% possession, which was, Parramatta had 64. Run meters, they made about 800 meters more than the Titans. And tackles, Cowboys made 241 tackles, Titans 426.
And it sounds ridiculous, but the Titans played pretty damn well early on, especially defensively. Like, they repelled the Cowboys a number of times really, really well, but it doesn't matter.
Now, the Roosters Rabbitohs one's a bit closer. So, South had 51% possession.
Okay.
They only made 2 runs more. The Roosters made 165 meters more. And the Roosters also made 26 tackles more.
Okay. So
that one's a little bit closer.
Okay,
And
so and that one cancels out. And look, it's a very small sample size, you know.
mm,
I'm just going on what I've eyeballed. I didn't look at the stats. I didn't look at them at all. The only stat that I know is that Jason Taumalolo is still racking up meters against the Titans.
oh yeah, I heard he just clocked up another 50 as he just went and grabbed a bottle of water from the fridge.
Yeah, yeah,
They still count.
yeah.
Yeah. Uh, God. It's amazing you get a forward who can just turn up for 40 minutes and just completely annihilate a
His
team.
his first half from memory, and this is just from what the commentators were saying, he'd got like something like 70 meters in the first half, which for most forwards is all right. For him is really low. And I think it was about 15 minutes into the second half, he had about 140 meters, which for most forwards over a game, if they've got 140 meters, that's right up there with their better performances. And he kept on going, and he kept on going, and he kept on going. He's unbelievable. He's just something else. But as I said, the Titans early on, they weren't that bad. But what I saw especially in those first two games, when you just can't overcome that penalty that comes out of, I can understand if they say, look, the first time we see an infringement, we call 6 again, but the second time we call a proper penalty because it is just too much of an advantage. And the only way that I can see it being combated is, and this is going to be funny when you hear me say this, is if you have a forward pack that is lighter and more mobile, which you know where I'm going, man. Timmy Sheens is out there. He's saying, I told you. Which is funny because this is the football that is from the end of that era where...
But you're absolutely right. And the thing is, I'd love it to come back purely because I know there's going to be a coach out there that's going to say, nah, you know what? I think if we have everyone big and heavy and slow, we can power through them all, even though they can't move sideways.
Matthew Elliott is out there and he has a name, all right?
Yeah, you know what? There'll be someone else out there who thinks to themselves they're a protege of his, that they can replicate what he does. There'll be someone who does that.
Yeah.
There always is. I'll buck the trend. I'll get something completely different. People, and it'll work. You watch people, it'll work. Mm-hmm. Just give me another club. I'm sure I can make it work there. No, seriously. One more try. I can do it.
Well, while I was watching these games and I'm thinking all of these things, and there's been 3 games, very small sample size, so I always remember that when we're saying this. But it made me think what you want. The way that teams were set going into this season, they were set for the rule set that we already had in place, and this is a dramatic change. It's a really dramatic change. It really is going to help the teams that have a smaller, more mobile pack. I worry the effect that it's going to have on the vast majority of larger forwards, because all of a sudden I would prefer to have that second rower playing in the front row sort of thing rather than a proper front rower. And that's what I liked about the rules that we had in place, say, last season, is that you had front rowers again. You had second rowers again. Your locks were a little bit in between, but we had a good mix of someone like a Taumalolo, who's a tank, and then you had someone like a Cam Murray or a Victor Radley, who's a smaller, more mobile player. There were places for quicker, more nimble centres or your big centres, your defensive sort of minded centres, even second rowers playing out in the centres. You had all of these different positions where you had these different body types. When I'm watching this football, I'm looking for second rowers / centres. I'm looking for those sorts of players and players like Cam Murray, Victor Radley, those sorts of players, they're gold in this system. But I wonder how it's going to affect someone like a Kickout, at those sorts of players.
Kickout's just going to become a prop.
I think so, yeah.
Which is bad news because, he's at his damaging best when he gets to rope a bit wider. Either that or they make him a lock.
Yeah, in a Taumalolo sort of position. I just worry about it because this is a different type of football. They cannot drop the interchange numbers, and I think what you're going to see is probably teams reassessing their strength and conditioning, because if this is what the football is going to be, they're going to have to be lighter, so they're carrying less physical weight, and their endurance is a little bit better because of that. And like, I don't think people really understand what a dramatic change this is.
Yeah, once again, it changes the forward packs more than anything.
Mm.
If people think that this might be a good thing, then think back to 2005, 2006, and before then, and realise that some of the best forwards we had in the game at the time, form-wise and premiership winning-wise, are the likes of, Bryce Gibbs,
John Skandalis.
I'm not saying they're bad players, but I mean, that's the type of footballer, size-wise, skills-wise, that is going to be successful under this style of footy.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why I mention those is because in, say, the last 2 or 3 years, those guys would probably be, when they're at the start of their careers, they would have been very close to being a second rower, because they didn't have that huge frame and size to make them, outright big, powerful props. But during that time, they were perfect for props because they were a bit faster, a bit more mobile. They could play a little bit wider the ruck. So that was the type of prop you needed. That's why it was successful.
Well, do you remember when it was around that time where Craig Bellamy took over as the New South Wales coach, and he basically picked a New South Wales pack that was all second rowers?
Yeah.
And he didn't win the series, but bloody hell, it was a good idea, and it was a change. And I think he was a little bit unlucky in that he was trying it against, it might have been Queensland at its best, in that era. But, it's going to go back to that. And I don't know that sort of football is what I enjoy watching. And it is going to have an effect on the athletes that teams look at that they want. And I don't know that that's a good thing for rugby league either.
Well, I think having it this way means that your edge players, your edge attack, your centres and your second rowers essentially are going to be your key targets in attack.
Yeah.
Which means your halves are just going to be distributors. They're not going to be creators.
I tell you what, the emphasis on having a good dummy half that can get out of dummy half quickly is massive.
Yeah.
And they're going to become the key player, really, when it comes down to it. There was a little bit of talk in one of the games I watched where they said, and I think it was the Titans game where they were talking about, there was somebody that said that they're not sure that you'll be able to have one 80-minute hooker. You're going to need to rotate 2 hookers during the game, which makes a bit of sense. And look, that should really help a team like the Titans. But, it's, I don't know. I just look at the game. Yeah, it looks fast. Yeah, it looks pretty. But I just think the balance is off. It feels a bit like, in cricket, just decided, fuck it, let's let the batsman just have all the advantages. Yeah. And it was like, oh, wow, you see in 300 balls, I scored 400 runs. It's like, oh, that was cool as a one-off, but I don't want to watch that every single match, and so I don't watch it anymore,
Yeah.
I think there's got to be a good balance. Otherwise, the game is out.
I was going to say, do you think it's starting to look a bit too much like Super League?
I wouldn't say it's quite there yet.
Oh, no, obviously it's not going to get there, but, the changes are moving it more in that direction.
I look, there's definitely a feeling. The overwhelming feeling for me was that if you get a team that gives away a couple of penalties and they just call 6 again, there's nothing that they can do, no matter how hard they try and defence. They're stuffed. And I just don't think that that's a good thing for rugby league. And look, there was a reason why we were blowing penalties. There's a reason why we blow penalties and stop the game and say, here, this is the start of a new set of six. There's a reason why we've done that for 100 plus years, and I worry that we're gonna see after 4 or 5 rounds, we're gonna sort of look back and say, hey, there's only been like 2 or 3 of these games that were close, and that worries me because we've got one of the, if not the closest competition in the entire sporting world, and I don't want to mess with that because that's the meal ticket for rugby league.
May I put a hypothetical to you?
Mm-hmm.
If Parramatta continues their form for, say, another 2 or 3 weeks and they are absolutely just crunching everyone,
Mm-hmm.
and then they come up against the Titans, do you think Parramatta has a chance of breaking St George's record from 1935 of most points in a game? I'm not even joking here.
No,
St George beat the Bulldogs 91-6. That was under unlimited tackle rule.
I'll say no, and it sounds absolutely ridiculous, but the Titans were really good early on defensively. Like they repelled a lot of football from the Cowboys, a lot of it.
Yeah, look at the scoreline in the end.
Yeah, and that's the problem, right? And that's something I didn't like. You can defend really good for 20 minutes, but if you've done that many tackles, because the referees just six again, and they had a couple of things go their way, go against them. Bounce of the ball went against them a couple of times, but I just think it's something. Do we want this in rugby league? Do we want to say, hey, scoring's up, game looks cool, lots of movement, it's flowing and stuff. Haven't watched a close game in 3 months. Do we want that? And I personally don't want that.
Well, I think for me it's also, do we want high-scoring games? Because that's what's happening and that's what will continue to happen. And as you say, if one team does, if they give away 3 penalties, and we're not talking about a lot of penalties, they give away 3, which results in 6 again, and they do a ton of defence and also concede 3 tries, 4 tries in that period, they're already down by nearly 20 points. Plus, they're also completely just tanked. And that may only be a 10-minute stint. They're being punished for the next 70 minutes for 10 minutes of bad play. Is that fair?
And that's a really good question. And that's something that I think that these sets of rules are going to do to teams. It's going to really, as you say, you can have a bad first 10 minutes. You can have a bad first 20 minutes. And under the old rules, we saw teams, they could get to half time and you think to yourself, well, you know what? Possession's been against them. They've made more tackles, but these things tend to, even up by the end of a match, and they could get back into it. And we saw a lot of teams get back into it last year and the years before that. Under this system, I think it's too much of a physical toll. And I think that we're going to see a lot more blowouts under this system.
Yeah, I tend to agree in that regard. Let me ask you about another rule change that everyone's completely forgotten about.
Yeah.
The 2040 rule.
Now, there was a kick, and I can't remember what game it was in, but it was. I thought to myself, did they change the rules on that one? And I didn't hear it mentioned once, which was kind of weird. I just think that because teams are making up so many meters, we're not going to see that. We're just not going to see it at all.
Yeah.
They're making too many meters. But after one tackle, you should be out of that zone by then.
But again, it's just another rule which punishes good defence.
Yeah, I agree.
If you nail a team down, you keep them inside their own 20 metres, and they just go, you know what, everyone's come up to try and keep the pressure on defensively. If we just get a kick away and get it 10 metres past halfway, bang, we get the scrum feed and we're in their half. Again, it's just attackers being rewarded. Doesn't matter what part of the field you're on.
Exactly. And look, this is the thing I liked about and I say old, last year's rule set, because you could get a team like the Roosters who really emphasised defence and built a team that was very interchangeable. And I think the great strength that people didn't talk too much about was the fact that their forward pack had a lot of depth and they didn't rely on one or two big forwards. And when I say big forwards, I mean star forwards. Their forwards were all about the same sort of level of talent. And then they had someone like a Victor Radley who was he was able to play a number of different positions, and that was very handy. I just think that we're not going to be able to see a team do that. You're going to, the perfect team under this system is one that runs a lot out of dummy half. It has a very mobile pack. It's a very certain style of team that, they're all going to have to look the same. And I don't think people could say that about last year's teams. You could have different sorts of teams. You could have many different sorts of players. You could have big forward packs. You could have a smaller forward pack. You could, this one, it's not going to be that like that at all. And that's what worries me. I think that the beauty of last year's rule set was that it allowed for different things to happen, whereas I don't think this one does. I think this one pushes everyone towards a certain sort of player, certain sort of style, certain sort of lineup. And I don't like that personally.
Yeah, as I said, I'll wait and see how it's going at the end of next weekend, because I reckon we'll get a better idea of how it is then. But at this moment, it does look like we're going to see blowout scores, which they're okay, like one game once a week, when it's a match where you kind of expect it, and you just go, well, this is pretty fun to rip on one team for being garbage and stuff like that. But, it's not really good for footy. Footy's at its best when every game, every week, has a genuine contest and it's close. And we've been getting that mostly for the 2-3 seasons previous. But it's not looking great at the moment.
Nah, and look, I hope I'm wrong. I hope that it's just been a few games that it's like, I hope the rest of the round is really close and it's like we can come back on Sunday or a Sunday evening and be like, oh yeah, man, how close were those games? That was fantastic. The footy was great, and have some games that were less than 10 points scored and they were fantastic to watch. But that's just my first impression of what I've seen so far, anyway.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Now, on another bit of news.
Yeah.
The NRL has decided to do simply the best rugby league side of the last 30 years, so 1990 to 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Shall we go through it?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. At fullback, they got Billy Slater.
Hard to argue. He's against a lot of great players, but man, you could name probably 10 players, and I'd say, hard to argue.
Exactly. So I'm not too opposed to that one. Interesting choice for the wingers. They've got Wendell Sailor and Hazem El Masri.
Well, that's just silly, in my opinion. I mean, I'd be looking at the likes of, and we're just talking about club footy, I guess, yeah?
Yeah.
I mean, Blacklock, you've got to put him in there somewhere. You've got to look at someone like a Semi Radradra, even though he wasn't around for very long. I mean, they're the two that jump out to me. Are there any others you can think of?
Israel Folau.
Yeah, Folau would have to be in there, even though he wasn't around for long.
Lottie Takuru is pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's more that come to mind.
I think they're the main ones, though, for sure.
Yeah. Who was there? I mean, you could probably even throw Brett Mullins into the mix, I guess.
Yeah, he did play in the wing, didn't he?
And of course, Rod Wishart. How could you forget?
How dare you?
Luke Cavell.
Okay, hang on.
Getting to a long list there of who I shouldn't have named.
Here's a question for you. As a pure winger, and as, I guess, a goal kicker too, would you rather have Rod Wishart as your overall player on the wing, or Hazem El Masri?
El Masri.
Yeah, I think I would go Wishart.
I think El Masri was faster and capable of scoring more tries.
I think that Rod Wishart was far more experienced in rep level, and it was only right at the end where he was just like, oh man, when Martin Lane caught him, oh man, that's
Yeah, that was good. At centre, Mal Meninga and Greg Inglis.
it's hard to argue, man.
It is. But it does mean that there's two players who haven't been named in that back five that I feel should be in there somewhere, and that's Andrew Eddinghausen and Steve Renouf.
That's the thing for me too, hey. Like if E.T. was basically in the last 30 years, I feel like you got to rate him as a centre. I guess in the early 90s he was probably playing a bit of wing though, wasn't he?
Yeah, especially at rep level. He was playing a bit of wing, bit of fullback.
See, I would rather him over any of the other wingers.
Yeah, I'd probably consider Inglis and Eddinghausen on the wings and Renouf at centre with Meninga.
Well, if you named that, oh man, that team's ridiculous. That team is Slater, Inglis, Meninga, Renouf, and Eddinghausen is. You could almost take them against any era's back five ever. That's crazy.
That's crazy. Halves at 5'8", Darren Lockyer.
I'm not opposed to it. I know you're not as big a fan of Lockyer.
Yeah, the guy. I'm not opposed to him being there either. He was a great player. There's no doubt about it. But there's been a few good 5'8s. I mean, Laurie Daly, Brad Fittler stand out as two who would be in that discussion for that role.
When did Wally Lewis retire?
92.
When did Brett Kenny retire?
No, about the same. 91.
Yeah. I mean, they weren't at their. I mean, Brett Kenny was pretty good near the end still, but. And I know Wally Lewis wasn't at his best when he retired, but jeez, it's fucking Wally Lewis, man.
Halfback.
Well, this one's easy.
Yeah. He's eighth immortal himself.
Yep.
Not named. It was Jonathan Thurston.
That's fucking ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous.
And this raises 2 points for me.
Mm-hmm.
One is for Andrew Johns and one's opposed to him.
Okay.
First one is this shows that maybe Andrew Johns was rushed into immortal status too much.
Mm-hmm.
Because if people can discard him so quickly, and sure, it may have been, maybe a decade that he was there, something like that. Still, to be discarded and replaced so quickly suggests that maybe he shouldn't have been made an immortal so quickly.
It's a very good argument.
And if someone who'd been regarded as the best halfback the game's ever seen for 70, 80 years can't get the gig, but some bloke who gets forgotten within a decade can, there's something wrong with that. That doesn't sit right with me. And on the other hand, this shows a lot of recency bias, which is another big issue that comes with doing teams as a decade, 30 years of all time sort of thing. Because I would have Johns ahead of Thurston.
Can I ask you a question? Who's the best player you've seen in your lifetime?
Wally Lewis.
Okay. For me, it would be Andrew Johns. I would guess for you, Andrew Johns is probably near the top.
Top 5, easy.
Yeah. Andrew Johns, for me, is the best player I've seen in my lifetime. Best all-round player I've seen. The thing I think people forget about Andrew Johns is that there were so many of the teams that he led that were very, very flawed in very big ways. and he forced them to win. And it wasn't just along the line. And I've said the same thing about Benji Marshall, where there's games where the West Tigers were fucking garbage, and Benji Marshall refused to let them lose against better opposition. Andrew Johns did that, but he did it on the basis that they were a threat to win premierships for most of his seasons. I know the end of his career was very injury prone, and that was unfortunate. But man, like he was someone you had to get through to win a premiership for quite a while. Brad Fittler was the same. You had to get through Brad Fittler to win a premiership for a very long time. So was Alan Langer, you know.
I don't know. The other thing too is I really do, and I think it's got more intense over the years too. I really do rate Ricky Stewart as an absolute genuine one of the best ever halfbacks the game's ever had.
Yeah, without doubt.
And that's sort of something that's been, I suppose, becoming a much stronger feeling as the years go by, is to just how great he was.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, his kicking game was, you know, no one could compare to his kicking game. And then you throw in the fact he had that unbelievable passing game.
Yeah,
Long passes were just as accurate as his short balls. It was insane to watch him throwing the ball around.
Yeah, and the thing was too that when Matthew and Andrew Johns basically come into first grade around the same time, the things that, and it was mostly Andrew with the halfback skills, but the passing between them, like going across the entire field with a couple of passes between your halves. And the thing people were saying, oh my God, these guys are doing Ricky Stewart stuff. Like, that's a big testament to how good Ricky Stewart was, is that we weren't seeing this stuff from a lot of other halfbacks. Even Alan Langer, who was, once again, he's one of the greatest halfbacks of all time, Alan Langer. But there were things that Ricky Stewart used to do, especially with his long passing game. He had a better long passing game than Alan Langer. Alan Langer had one of the best, if not the best, short passing games for a halfback I've ever seen. But the long passing game, the long kicking game especially, Ricky Stewart was better than him. And yeah, that was a testament to Ricky Stewart's, what he had done to the game, that the things that Andrew Johns started doing as he became a better player was all related back to Ricky Stewart.
Ricky Stewart too, like Andrew Johns, had a stunning dummy.
Yeah.
Because he didn't throw too many dummies, which meant the one he threw was the one you missed.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. So yeah, that was an interesting one. The props are Glenn Lazarus and Petro Civoniceva.
It's hard to argue. I could never leave out Shane Webke. I think Shane Webke was better than Civoniceva, in my personal opinion, but I wouldn't fight to the death about. There's so many things you can say about Civoniceva as a prop, and his longevity, his achievements. There's so many things you can throw in.
The engine on him was insane for a bloke with his frame.
Oh, crazy.
To play the minutes he did with the, he was unstoppable for most of them. Unbelievable.
I think the thing for Webke for me is that Webke is in that if the aliens come down and you're playing for your life, who is the first prop you select? It is Webke every single time for me. Yeah. And I think that's the thing. But I can also see the case for Civoniceva, so I wouldn't argue that. And Glenn Lazarus. I mean, he's the second prop I pick, so.
Exactly. Now, at the moment, they're currently deciding who the hooker would be.
Mm-hmm.
I think we can probably assume who's going to get the gig there.
Yeah, Kurt Gidley. Not bad.
I was going to say Robbie Farah. So the nominees for hooker are Danny Badeiras, Damien Cook, somehow.
Okay.
Benny Elias.
Yeah.
Robbie Farah, Jason Hetherington, Josh Hodgson.
What?
Isaac Luke, Cameron Smith, Steve Walters, Craig Wing. And for me, that's between Cameron Smith and Steve Walters. The rest are Danny Badiris is probably the only other one that's in the race there. I'd have it between those three.
Yeah. The thing that hurts Danny Badiris is that his career crossed over with Cameron Smith, and Cameron Smith took over from him while he was still in his prime, and that was because he needed that break at rep level. I think we talked about that about 4 or 5 episodes ago. That's the thing that hurts Badiris, because I think if there had been a break, it would have been a much more difficult choice between him and Smith. But because you can sort of line them up so well and say, well, Smith took over, Smith was the evolution of Badiris, therefore he's better. And he's also played 400 first-grade games and won all these premierships and stuff.
I think Farah also took over from Badiris at state level. I think that hurts Badiris a little bit too, but not too severely.
Yeah, I personally put Badiris on a much higher level than Farah.
Oh, likewise.
Yeah.
But Cameron Smith had to retire for someone to come along, and the person who came along was not better than him.
Cameron Smith?
Yeah, like he had to retire from rep footy. I mean.
Oh yeah, and there's a massive hole left, and it's like, who's taken that over? I see what you mean there. Yeah.
So I dare say they're going to go with Cameron Smith there. And while I'd accept that, I wouldn't be opposed if Steve Walters got that gig either, because he was unbelievable.
Yeah, I think Steve Walters would be better now than he even was back when he played, because he played in a little bit of that crossover period between the when rugby league was still getting used to the 10-metre rule to a certain extent, I guess, and I think he would. I think it'd be amazing now. Jeez, he'd be so good.
Absolutely. Now, second row. Gordon Tallis and Steve Menzies.
I can really see the case for Steve Menzies. It's like when you look at his try scoring record and what he achieved as a player.
Yeah.
I mean, Tallis is another one of those players where, man, at his best, he was bloody good.
I find it hard to not have Paul Sirenen in there.
Man, you could go at their best, Sirenen and Geyer. I think I'd rather Sirenen and Geyer, hey?
Yeah, I'd take Sirenen over Tallis.
Yeah.
Menzies is hard to pass up on.
That's the thing. It's like, what don't you want? You don't want those 100 and something tries in your team, or the premierships, or the longevity. Like, what is it that you don't like?
And the defence. People forget his defence. Great
really
defences back row.
A little bit like Andrew Eddinghausen in the second half of his career.
Exactly.
Eddinghausen was a bit better as a defender in the like he didn't get to that specialist level as a defender, but bloody hell, he was a much better defender in the second half of his career.
Absolutely. And a lock. I reckon you might argue with this one.
Mm-hmm.
Jason Taumalolo.
I just can't. I can't. Who would you? Bradley Clyde would have to be in there. I'd have Brad Fittler in there.
I would have Fittler there.
And I wouldn't argue that, to be honest.
And I mean, as I've discussed before, I'm opposed to having players who are still playing in these greatest teams of ever lists.
Yeah.
And only because I want to see a player's career finished before I start nominating for stuff like this. But Taumalolo is phenomenal in everything he does. So the only reason why I wouldn't have him in there is because he hasn't retired, not because he's not good enough. But, Brad Fittler does need to be in this team somewhere. Come on, how is he not one of the 13 greatest players since 1990?
And look, if you just go on just their careers since 1990, Brad Fittler's not probably top 5 player.
Yeah.
Because from 1990 until he retired, he was somebody you had to get through to win a premiership. Didn't
I mean,
matter where he was playing.
he was a test captain, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
So I don't give those out to anyone.
No.
So, but yeah, I mean, that's it there. Now, later on, maybe this weekend, something like that, if we do another episode, which we do plan on doing, we are going to look at another team list, a greatest all-time team, which is just, it's almost finished. It's almost completed, so that's going to be quite a bit more debatable.
Yeah, and that one, me and Andrew are actually going to name our best teams of all time. Our teams are going to be separate, so Andrew will do his, I'll do mine as well. I think a lot of it will be similar, but I know there are some differences from just, well, we haven't sat down and talked about our teams, but just from knowing like who you go for and who I go for in different areas. I think there'll be some differences, but yeah, that's and we've been waiting to do this episode for a long time because I know you and me take it very seriously that we're gonna, set in stone our best teams of all time. We don't take it lightly. We're not writing them down just heading into that episode. We've been thinking about this shit for like 20 years.
At least.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's something to look forward to. And hopefully that'll be the last time we do this greatest team thing of all time. Because, I mean, let's be honest, this all came about because of the coronavirus lockdown and whatnot. And journalists couldn't think of any original content, so they just came up with that instead.
Yeah, and they shouldn't have.
And we've been sucked into that vortex.
I tell you what, though, when we name our best teams of all time, and you think of the players, and you don't say any of them, but like the players that would be in that best team of all time, holy crap! It would take someone good to come along for one of us to say, you know what, we talked about the best team of all time. I got to change it. I got to add someone, and that would be like a 15-year down the track. Someone just come out of nowhere and did some ridiculous stuff.
Exactly. I think one player who we've mentioned tonight will be forcing me to do that with that team for me.
Yeah.
But we won't get into that. Have we had any emails that are short enough to read out on?
We have actually. PK actually got in touch and said, man, I know I've been sending massive emails. I just got carried away. So, and he actually said he doesn't mind if we put them up on the website. So I'll put them up on the website coming up. But let's have a look what we got here. Okay, here we go. PK. He says, hey guys, yeah, I understand I got carried away with the lengths of the emails. Just starting writing and couldn't stop. Felt these concepts were important to mention, not expecting you to read them out. Just thought you could use as topics for discussion on the pod, as I think they have the ability to really grow the game, particularly the centralisation of games at New Stadium in Sydney and the positives of relocation for clubs like the Sharks. Ooh, how about that, Sharkies fans? Mm-hmm. I got to admit, I'm worried about Volandis. I'll grant him getting NRL back on May 28th, fair accomplishment, but I think his vision for the future of the game is backwards and only serves to hinder its growth. His push for upgrades to suburban grounds, like Leichhardt Oval recently, and negotiating in the current climate a new broadcast deal where he is peddling a reduced long-term rate. And he says, please read Roy Masters' piece. Love to hear your thoughts on this article by the end. It basically outlines why Greenberg was ousted. Fuck 9. For me, are worrying signs. It is quite amazing to see how he has put the mainstream media in a trance. I just can't work out if he is fighting for the game and putting the NRL first, or if he is just a lapdog for the mainstream media, and is seeing how he got rid of Greenberg. I'm worrying the latter is correct. Love to hear your thoughts. What do you think about that?
Good email. The trance thing's interesting. I reckon there's a bi-trance thing going on there where Landis is in a bit of a trance as well because the media give him so much praise all the time.
Yeah.
So they're all just zombies at the moment, giving each other love. It's all
You
a
get
bit
the
weird.
you get the feeling that Peter Volandi's circle of people that he talks to about where the game should be is about 5 people strong.
Yeah, they were right for the Daily Telegraph.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is a worry. They actually renegotiated that TV deal. Foxtel has signed on through 2027.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only details I've heard, which is really worrying.
Mm-hmm.
And Channel 9 has signed on to the end of 2022 or 3. I think
I
it
think
might.
it was 20. I thought it was 2022.
Okay. They then went to the stock exchange and let their shareholders know that they expect to be saving, I think it was around 20 million, maybe 23 million per year for the last 2 years of that deal. So, I'm really worried that we're not getting figures on these deals. It's the first time we haven't got figures on TV deals, and it's very hard to talk about those deals. Once we get those figures, I'm willing to go deep into those figures and talk about them. We'll talk about the how much the game is, gaining or losing on a year-by-year basis. I just can't believe you'd renegotiate in the middle of the biggest economic downturn in over a century.
Sounds crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we have had a review.
Hey, we got some more emails yet.
Okay, well, I'll do the review and we'll go to
Okay.
another few minutes.
Okay.
Andy M73 says, prolific podcast, 5 stars. Quality over quantity, they say. Well, these two give you both. Frequent podcasts and great analytic content, not just parodying what the rest of the rugby league media are saying. Even when they go off the rails towards the end of an episode, it is still amusing.
Well, that's very nice to hear. Thank you, Andy. And Andy is a Patreon of mine. I think he's a Patreon of yours too, isn't he?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah.
I do have to wonder, we don't go off the rails. When have we ever gone off the rails?
I can't ever remember going off the rails. I don't even know what he's talking about.
Nah. We're just rugby league content from start to finish.
Yeah.
Nothing else. Never mentioned anything else other than rugby league. So I don't know what he's on about there.
Exactly. One of the things, though, it's like I know you and me are proud of the fact that we don't just gobble up the mainstream media line, and we sort of, we'll stand back and have a think about it ourselves. We don't necessarily just go against the mainstream either. Like, if there's something that they're talking about that's fair enough, we'll be like, yeah, this seems like they're on the right track here. Problem is they're not a lot of the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's nice that, sometimes you see people that write about the game and stuff like that, and they're just kind of they're singing from the same hymn sheet.
Mm-hmm.
And when you see people that don't think those ways, it's always refreshing. So, and it's always stood out to me when people can look at things from a different perspective.
Exactly. So thanks for your comment there, Andy.
Yeah, thank you, Andy. That was a really nice rating and a review. It's just a shame more of our listeners don't do that. Hey, Andrew.
Exactly. Come on, people.
Okay, so we've got we got an email here from Ronnie Bollerman. And he says, "G'day, Fergo and the Transcendent League Freak. Just thought I'd drop a quick note to say hi and thanks. I was introduced to your podcast by my good mate Rochi a few months ago."
Good on you, Rochi.
Thank you, Rochi. Champion.
Checks in the mail.
Yeah. Good bloke, Rochi.
Oh, we go way back.
Yeah. I'm a mad Bulldogs and rugby league supporter. Thanks for your podcast that gives me something interesting to listen to in the car while driving to and from work instead of the dribble on radio these days. He retired, so it's all right. I'm talking about Alan Jones.
Yeah. I'm glad he retired from coaching many years ago. Just wish he had retired in 1990.
Good luck, Queen. We're going to miss you. Love the content and variety you bring. The piece on Duncan Thompson was outstanding. Keep up the great work. Looking forward to every new episode. Best wishes, Ronnie Bollerman from Brisbane. And he said, P.S. Yeah, you can use my name if you wish. And that's why we used his name.
Oh. I'm not surprised you like the Duncan Thompson one, being a Queenslander.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
I may sit there and rip on Queensland every now and then, but I don't let my my state bias view dictate my views on players from up in Queensland.
Yeah, I've never done that. But then again, I've never said anything bad about Queenslanders either. I mean, fuck. You know.
It could be worse for Queensland. They could have Tamworth as well. But anyway, are there any other emails?
I thought there was, and I can't find it.
Ah.
I'm sure there was. We did the Greg Inglis one, yeah.
I'm still waiting on you to get a spam email that we can read out on air.
Oh, I got one. Let me see. Where's the spam? I get them quite often. I tell you what, LinkedIn sends me so many fucking emails a day. Like, congratulate so-and-so for being in their job for 5 years. As if I give a fuck.
No. We're not congratulating people for doing their job.
Exactly.
That's what you get paid for.
Exactly. I agree. I'm trying to find it, man. I feel like I'm going to miss out. Oh, man. I hope if somebody sent... Hang on, what is this? Hang on. Oh, that's somebody telling me that they're going to... Yeah, they want to do some SEO shit.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, fuck them.
How much are they going to give us for it?
Oh, they want me to pay them to do my SEO.
No, you tell them, this is how we do SEO here. Yeah. Is you pay us this amount of money, and we've got a prolific social presence.
Yeah.
We are social media influencers.
100%.
Two of them, in fact, with several media platforms. So I think ballpark figure, if they give us, say, $50,000 each, we will consider their SEO request. Not do any of it, just consider it.
Consider it, yeah.
That's our ballpark figure to start the consultation. You have to pay that up front. And once that's paid, we'll then consider it. And if we approve it, then there'll be additional payments required.
Yeah. Then we'll get our people to talk to their people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In the end, we should be able to waste enough time and take enough money out of you so that your company goes broke and you don't need our work and we don't have to do anything. It's called the Ben Elias method.
Ooh, Jesus Christ, Andrew. Fuck me dead. We might have to get that $50,000 for lawyers. So yeah, look, if somebody sent me an email and I haven't read it out, I'll just send it again, because I swear to God there was an email there somewhere and I can't find it. And I apologize if I've done that, because I get a lot of spam emails these days.
You know what would address that issue?
Yeah.
Is if we just give people your house address and they write letters to you.
Go on, you dick. So yeah.
It's number 17.
I leave it 17.
West Simmons Street.
Royce Simmons Street. Oh, hang on a second. Let's do that. There's not a Royce Simmons Street, is there? Let's look this up. There should be.
That should be the main drive past the Penrith train station. Should be Royce Simmons Street.
Royce Simmons Street. No, there's not.
Is there a Simmons Street?
There's got to be a Simmons Street. What about Mark Geyer Place?
Geyer Grove.
Geyer Grove. What about Brandy Alexander Crescent? There's not a Brandy Alexander Crescent. What about
that'll be Alexander Avenue.
Robbie Beckett Way. There's not a Robbie Beckett Way. Okay. Scott Pethybridge Close.
Pethybridge Close.
There's not a Scott Bethridge. This is fucking outrageous. What's going on here?
Mate, we need to have serious words with the Penrith Council.
Exactly.
Is there Van der Voort View?
Colin Van der Voort
Bentley Boulevard?
Avenue. There's not a Colin Van der Voort Avenue?
God, these people are missing out.
Yeah, this is silly. This is...
If you're a property developer and you've just bought up a big block of land, there's not much of it left in Western Sydney, but if you've got some out there near Penrith, here's an idea. Name all of the streets after Panthers 90s players.
There's not a Steve Carter Lane.
What the hell is going on? Carter Crescent. Come on.
Yeah. What about
Izzard Place?
What about Craig Gower Ballpark?
No,
There's not even a Craig Gower Ballpark.
Surely you'd name the local hotel after Craig Gower. Or the Gower Golf Course.
The Irish pub.
Name the golf course after him.
That would be good. That would be good, yeah. That's a story that goes missing a little bit, hey?
It is. You could go to the All Hands Bar.
Oh, stop it now. Oh, I thought I was the one that was going to get us in trouble, and it's going to be fucking you.
Yeah.
Come on now.
It's late. I've been working 5 days.
Yes, it happens.
My guard's been dropped a bit.
Yeah.
I apologise, people, for dropping the standard.
So, okay. So I've just gone to Channel 9's RAG, which is Sydney Morning Herald these days.
Mm-hmm.
And the CEO of Channel 9 is doing an interview with one of his employees.
Oh, so this will be fair and balanced.
That'll be good. And the headline is, there was this superior attitude. 9 boss lifts lid on NRL negotiations.
Yeah.
Which
you'll pretty much say, I did it my way. I got what I wanted.
Yeah.
And fuck the NRL.
Yeah. And we were right and they were wrong.
Yeah.
And I can't wait until Channel 7 or 10 is showing the NRL in 2024. So, yeah, we talked about Bronson Sherry.
Still waiting on his B sample.
Yeah, come on, man. Come on. NRL keeps Origin Grand Final exclusivity up their sleeve for next TV deal. That's interesting. It'd be nice if somebody could finalise the fucking television deal, like what's in it, seeing as it's been signed off on a lot of different areas. So as soon as that happens, we'll talk about it. But yeah, not been too much other news really. Peter Fitzsimons is still rambling on like he's got a UTI. I'll tell you something about Latrell Mitchell from this game, right?
What did he do wrong?
Look, he didn't have a good game. Didn't make a lot of meters. He had some flashes, but it wasn't a great game again. It reminded me a lot of when, and people were like, "Oh, Wayne Bennett, he needs to move him," you know. It reminded me a lot of when Darren Lockyer moved from fullback to 5'8".
Mm-hmm.
And people were like, "Oh, this experiment's not working. 3 games in, let's change it. This is never going to work." He's going to be fine. He's going to be fine.
Yeah, he's a good athlete. He's come to the club very late. It hasn't been the easiest of seasons for, coming to a club late and trying out a new position on a full-time basis.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to give him a break, but I just knew that if he came out and had anything less than a 10 out of 10 game, everyone would be saying, "Oh, fucking Latrell, if he had been doing practice in his footy and blah, 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 instead of going out shooting and blah, 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 all that fucking wank that James Hooper would be going on with." That's what would happen. And I'm expecting it this week.
Yeah.
The reason why Latrell is not playing well is because he did this, he did that, and he's bad, and blah, blah, blah. Fucking give it a break, please.
Exactly. There were a couple of things I really liked about what I saw. There was a a defensive set where he stopped a try from being scored, and he'd held off. It was something that he could have gone all in and probably given up the try. He held off. I think it was Kiri made a break, shut
Yeah, I saw
Kiri
that.
down. Yeah, and
And
then he ended
he's
up on
being
the other
turned.
side of the
He's been.
field.
I think there was another one there. Who's being turned inside and out.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
ended up making a smart decision right at the very end through all of that, which allowed him to effect the tackle and stop a try from being scored on that play.
yeah,
Defensively, I think he's been pretty good defensively, but there's been one or two plays this year where his hands have let him down,
yep.
and his attack has been a little bit sloppy. But defensively, I think he's been reasonably good.
Yeah, and I think that there was a drop ball he had early on in that game, and it made me think about, like, because he's a wonderful athlete, he's a fantastic player, but as a centre and an outside back in general, there is a mindset of, like, I get switched on when the ball comes my way.
Mm.
And the thing about being a fullback is you've got to be switched on for the whole game. And I think that's that's going to be a change for him. That's going to be a big change for him. There was something about him in this game. I liked the way he was moving. I don't know if he had been able to shake a bit of an injury or something, or if he'd worked on his cardio, or if he dropped. They said in the broadcast that he was the same weight he was when the lockdown happened, which I think was 105 kilos. But he just seemed lighter on his feet to me. I don't know what it was. And that there was also a little short ball that he put on. I think that South scored off of it too. There's things I'm seeing that I really like, and it's definitely worth persevering with him, because if he hooks it up, and he obviously wants to play fullback, when all of this comes together, he's going to be sensational at fullback.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Someone else who was a bit criticised,
Yeah.
probably because they thought that it was going to take him too long to get back into the run of things.
Yeah.
And we both said, no, he'll be fine after a few games. And that was Valentine Holmes.
Yeah.
He looked pretty good from what I saw today as well.
Yeah, he did. He looked better than he did in his first two games. He looked very comfortable.
I think he's back to where he should be.
Yeah, I agree. From what I saw of him today, like the hangover from the changing from an NFL player getting back into the swing of things. I'm not going to mention that again because it's done. He's a rugby league player again. He looked really pretty good. Anything that he does from now on is just an improvement as a rugby league player. And yeah, way better than his first two games. Actually, I was pretty impressed.
Yeah, no, he's looking. He's set. He's fine.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we said we're going to do a quick episode. We lied again.
What are we? Are we done an hour again?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Easy.
Hey, can I just ask you one more question?
Sure, mate.
What's your credit card number? No. What did you think about the crowd noise, the fake crowd noise?
I don't mind the concept.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is, I was watching, I think it was the Cowboys Titans game.
Yeah.
And it was just a standard set of six where the Cowboys were bringing the ball off their own line. And I thought, I'm going to listen to the crowd noise just for this set to see if there's anything odd about it. And there's just these like waves of, sounds like excitement, then a bit of a lull, and excitement, a bit of a lull. Obviously, it sounds like it's on a loop.
Yeah.
But the exciting bit comes like just as the player's on the ground trying to play the ball. You go, there's nothing to be excited about there. And so sometimes it doesn't quite match the action. And obviously, you're going to get that because you're trying to replicate a crowd.
Yeah.
And you're not going to have someone sitting there trying to mold crowd sound around what's actually going on with the footy for the entire 80 minutes. But I don't mind it. At the same time, I also don't mind if it's silent and you get to hear all the hits and the players talking and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think the big reason for why broadcasters wanted that, atmosphere sound there is it helps to block out a lot of the swearing that goes on the field. I think that's the majority of the reason why they do it, more than anything.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me at all, actually.
And if that's the case, then that's fine, because a lot of kids watch it. If that helps
Yeah,
to get rid of that aspect of the game, then I'm fine with that.
yeah, because some cunts don't like swearing.
Yeah.
I on the Thursday night game, sorry, I just for some reason I didn't have my TV up that loud, so I heard it a little bit, and it sounded like it reminded me of when like it's just raining just a little bit, and you sort of go, "What's the noise?" Oh, I think it's raining outside. It's sort of like that. And whereas in tonight's two games, and I was watching those two games on KO, um, it was very noticeable, and it just seemed a bit dumb to me, a little bit stupid. Uh, I don't know how they do it. I as like you, I can't imagine it's someone with a little stick that's turning it up and down. But yeah, I don't know. It just seemed a bit silly to me. But it wasn't the worst thing in the world. But yeah, I found it a bit, I don't know, ridiculous. Hey, did you see those fake fans in the stand though?
Yeah, you can buy a cardboard cutout of yourself to go in the stand.
Now, the other night we were looking at that, and I was going to get my League Freak logo. I've got a League Freak logo that's set up, and you see it in some of the logos that we put out there. There's a picture of basically a cartoonized picture of Andrew and then my logo, and we're both wearing like a hoodie. And so I was going to upload that, but I wanted to see it first. And it wouldn't show me what it would look like first, and then it wanted like all your personal details. It's like at that point I'm out, you know.
I did see someone on my Facebook today said that they uploaded a picture of themselves holding their like 8-month-old baby.
Yeah,
And they put it on there, and it looked like a pretty decent picture because their heads were pretty close.
yeah.
But when they saw the cardboard cutout, the father's head's there, but they've cut off the child's head, but they've left the child's body there.
Oh,
And I went,
jeez.
oh, that's savage.
You know what someone did? This is the best one. You know that politician in England that got in trouble for driving all the way up north to his family and that?
Oh, yeah.
Someone paid to have him sitting in the stand. Which is fucking brilliant. Oh, shit.
But you know what? If anyone wants to have a bit of fun around with this,
yeah.
or if a lot of people want to, you know what would be the funniest thing ever?
What?
You get like Bankwest Stadium, and every single cardboard cutout is Kim Jong-un.
Well, they go through and they can reject them because people were putting him in there. People were putting that pirate that has the UTI. They were putting him in there, and they had to come out and say, "No, we don't just put anything on. We vet them." So, but somebody did have their dog. It was a journalist.
Yeah.
He put his dog in there. There was one of Ruan Sims, and then someone did a post on Twitter saying, "Oh, look, Ruan's there judging the Dally M's again," which was fucking gold. So yeah, there was some funny things to come out of it, but I noticed too because during the game, and it was the Souths versus Roosters game. When I first saw these cardboard cutouts, they're on the non-broadcast side of where you don't see the cameras. So I thought they'd put all of these poor bastards on the side of the field that you wouldn't see the cameras, but I think they put them both sides of the field. So, yeah, and it's like I think it costs $22 and you get your bit of cardboard back. So it's not the worst thing in the world. It's pretty reasonably priced. So yeah.
Oh, it's a very unique idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't mind it.
Yeah, I don't mind it either. It's a little bit of fun. I like when people remember, oh yeah, rugby league is supposed to be fun.
Yeah. I'd be inclined to probably get one of the good doctor with his watches on.
Why don't you do one, right? And have you it's just you, but you've got both of your wrists like underneath you, and you've got your 5 watches. Because I know you've been sporting your 5 watches lately.
Or just look all gangster.
Yeah.
Old white boy gangster, that's me.
You know, what if you did one, right, with all your watches, right? put on like a pair of glasses and then a hat that's backwards. That would be fucking hilarious. Oh, you should do it.
Be like a bad middle-aged mixture between early John Cena from the WWE and Vanilla Ice.
That would be, oh my God, that would be so funny.
I need a length of chain to put around my neck to look hardcore as fuck.
Yeah, you get like have you got something padlocked outside? Just use that. Just get a padlock and the chain.
It's even better. The only padlock I've got is like these really tiny ones for the luggage. So I could just put that on there.
Oh, that's even better. That's even better. Look, I will go Harveys with you. I will put the money in your PayPal account right fucking now if you do this.
We'll have to try and figure out how to do it.
Well, yeah, we'll do. I tell you what, we'll sort it out on Sunday. All right.
All right.
Ah, that's fucking brilliant. Oh shit!
It better get some fucking airtime.
I better. It'd be so funny. You know what we'll do? If we get it all sorted out, and we will make a fucking note of it, and we'll say, listen, we'll tweet whoever it is we need to tweet. We'll say, put the fucking Andrew Ferguson one somewhere it can be seen. God damn it!
Exactly.
We'll make it happen. We're influencers. And
if sponsors want to get on board and have their name on my shirt on that one there, we can do that. Well, yeah. Maybe they could pay for it. We could just have a Porto across the front of it.
That would be good. Damn it, I wish it's too quick. I'd send you a League Freak t-shirt.
So I'll have a hat with the podcast on it. I'll have my shirt with Rugby League Project on it.
Yeah. Have you got a Rugby League Project shirt?
I do, and I bought it when I was much, much bigger than I am now. And when I put it on the other day,
yeah,
I think we could both fit in it.
Oh, really?
It's massive.
Wow.
So I'm going to have to get back onto the Mayor Inc. website where you can buy a whole heap of Rugby League Project merchandise. I'm going to have to go back on there and buy a new one.
Have we got that link on the podcast descriptions?
I don't think so.
What we'll do, right? We'll put the link in the podcast description for this one, and anyone that wants a Rugby League Project t-shirt, buy one, because they're pretty good.
Yeah, I designed them myself. There's just some basic like polo shirts.
Yep.
And there's also a bunch of t-shirts with random pictures on them. So one's of the... I think there's a Queensland one, which is an old picture of Lang Park. And there's another one, which is a New South Wales one, which has got an old picture of the SCG on there. There's also another one, which is for the ladies. And it's taken from a game over in the UK back in the 50s, I think. And there's a brawl going on in the ground. And a woman has come onto the field and she's bashing one of the players with her handbag. That's a pretty fantastic shirt. So
yeah, I'm
get over there. So I've got to buy a new one of those. You can also get a key ring. You get a bumper sticker free with every shirt you purchase.
Oh, nice.
So get over there and support RLP.
Yeah. And you know another way that people can support RLP?
Do tell.
If they go to patreon.com/RL Project, they can contribute to the Patreon that contributes to the digitization of rugby league history online. Statistics, everything. It is a fantastic Patreon to be part of. So many exclusive things that are on there. It's fantastic to see. And I would tell anyone, get on there, support Andrew in the digitisation of rugby league's history, because it's something that really does help the game and is used as a resource by everybody that is online that looks at anything to do with rugby league, including Wikipedia, official rugby league websites. They all use Rugby League Project. So it's a very important resource that we all need to support.
And it's almost 40% complete.
Yeah, it'll be finished by the end of this year, and then another 80 years from now.
Yeah, at least. I'm going to be kept on life support machines until I'm about 250, just to make sure this thing gets finished.
You're going to be a brain in a jar with eyeballs,
That's me.
unblinkingly looking out over an Excel sheet.
Yep. Just still be punching figures into an Excel.
Probably. They'll probably have electrodes in your head, and it'll just be coming up on the screen, you know?
Yes, that's exactly what it'll be. And I'll still be swearing about digitising records from 1942 or something. And look, another great thing you can do in this time of absolutely garbage mainstream media is support independent media outlets like League Freak, and you can do that on Patreon as well. Go to patreon.com/League Freak. And he's got some tiers on there where, the more you pay, the more you get in return. So get over there and give him the maximum amount. You can see everything's got in there. I think if you pay $10 a month, you get like dick pics and stuff. So
Jesus Christ. That's a bit.
Come on, people have been thinking all along that when we talked about your Thor hammer, they thought you were talking about an actual Thor hammer. We're talking about the size of his meat.
Well, Nadine's paying $10 a month, and she's seen my hammer the other day. Just saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, she's still paying $10 a month too. So it's not like she's.
When she saw my hammer, she was like, "Is there a way I can pay $20 a month?"
She's like, impressed. Does not explain it. Lost for words.
She was amazed by it. I'm thinking of ways that I can do things for my Patreon members.
I just gave you one.
Well, apart from giving them something to fap over, you know what I mean? Because
yes.
I mean, fapping is only like 39% of what we do in life, or at least I do. And so I'm looking at ways that I can just do little things here and there. And, it's not even really going to be based on the tiers that you go through. It'll just be, what I can do. I'm trying to work out the best way to do it. But any of the money that goes towards my Patreon, it goes straight to website costs, which, with the US dollar the way it is right now, really sucks at the moment.
Especially with the amount of websites that you own.
Well,
you're like a website baron.
I really am. I would just wish I had the money of a baron. So I've got leakfreak.com, which is the big one, obviously. That's what she said. And then Rugby League Podcasting Network.com, which it doesn't take up as much space or get anywhere near as much traffic, obviously, but it is there. And then I've got NRLBreakingNews.com as well.
And let's be honest, the Rugby League Podcasting website is one you should bookmark because you can go there and get all of your favourite Rugby League podcasts all in one spot.
Yeah, and there's lots of really good ones from all over the world.
And you're supporting like nothing but prominent independent podcasts on Rugby League. No mainstream stuff there. It's all independent, which is also fantastic. Yeah,
there's no mainstream ones at all, and they're all quality ones. I haven't put shit ones on there. I will be expanding that website a little bit, so there'll be little bits and pieces that will hopefully the one thing you and me have always said about our podcast is like we're not everyone's part of the same listener group, and we have never felt like there should be gates up around podcasts. We should all just be sharing our followers around. And we've had so many people talk to us and say, "Oh, I heard about your podcast on this podcast," and so like that's something we're very big on is just have a listen to all of them. See what ones you like best. See what ones are not for you, but always keep listening to new ones, seeing and finding what you like, because we're all part of the same thing. And the more listeners we all get, it's a good thing.
Yeah. Right? Was it a rising tide lifts all boats or something like that?
Some bullshit like that.
Someone told it to me once. I forgot it because I thought I'll never use this ever in my life.
Fucking going on boats, you're more likely to get coronavirus than lift it anyway.
Well, with the global warming going on, we're all going to be rising at some stage, aren't we?
Yeah, that's true. It'll be like Waterworld. We'll all be drinking our own piss. There's Thank God. We don't go off track.
No.
Well, just want to tell listeners, in last week, we had our biggest week ever. Earlier this week, we had our biggest day ever. And we are most likely, by the end of this month, going to have our biggest month ever this month too. So thank you to everybody that is part of this, because we're all part of this, and we can't believe it just keeps going up and up and up. And that's what she said.
I just need to let that hang there. That's what she said.
That's what she said.
Yeah, the support's been fantastic. It really has. And if there's anything you want us to talk about in an episode, just drop us an email. We're happy to discuss anything, as we've proven many times before. Got a few more. We've got. I know I've got at least one interview guest lined up. I've got to organise to get on, which is going to be a good chat. We talked about that one for a while, so I've got to pull my finger and get around to that.
Yeah.
Got a few.
I'm going to get as well. I'm going to get Katie on soon. Going to get her back. She'll have something to say.
Sounds good. She's always got something to say.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much wrap that up. Thanks for tuning in, people. If you want to follow us, we're on Twitter and Instagram at FergoFreakPod. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. We're on LinkedIn. We'll try and find other social media places to go on as well. Let's just get on everything.
Tinder.
Except Grindr.
Yeah, well, let's give that one a pass. As I said, never again. And
everything's worth trying once.
Except that.
Within reason.
What the fuck is wrong with that?
We never go off track.
No, never ever.
Never off rails. Never off rails.
Oh, man. We're going so well, too.
Just a quick episode, you said.
Yeah, we'll just knock out a quick one.
I'm tired, he said. Let's just do a quick episode. All right, let's do that. I've only got one thing to talk about. Here we are.
I got to be up at midday. I will be...
That's okay. If we keep talking like this for another 8 hours, it'll be midday.
Yeah. I got to do some friggin' online radio at midday, hey? I'm barely functioning at midday. I sort of come into my own around 4 p.m.
I'm so going to send you lots of really bad ideas to try and steer you down a garden path again.
Fuck you, man.
I know you look at it going, oh, fuck, I want to do that. I'm going to tempt you.
I can't. I try and be good when I do be good when I'm doing radio, because I'm a professional. I just don't get paid like it. And, yeah, it's really weird. I can switch it on and off.
There you go. That's what the pros do.
They really do.
And on that revelation, we'll wind this one up. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. We will catch you again next time.